All right, let's turn our sights to the Birds here, Derek. They get the Packers on Sunday night. The Packers come in really struggling. In fact, having a long layoff too. They will have gone from Thursday to Sunday night.
Yep.
They lost to the Titans. That game feels like it was a while ago, man. It was not even a week ago. But so they lose. The Eagles are coming off a win. But really, it's desperation time for Green Bay. They really can't afford too many losses, period. I mean, you're entering this game at 4-7 if you're them. Yeah. What do you think they could lose? Maybe 2 more if they
Nope. They're done. They're done. They're not a playoff team. They're done. But the thing that's scary is which team shows up.
Yeah.
Because they came from they're not built to be a come from behind team. They came from 2 touchdowns down and beat Dallas in overtime. Okay. And then they should have beat Tennessee, or at least should have been a closer game. And Rodgers couldn't hit the broadside of a barn against Tennessee last Thursday. You don't know which Green Bay team is going to show up, and that's scary.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider right now the Eagles have a 2-game lead over the Giants and the Cowboys. They'll have a 3-game lead over one of them after tomorrow night if they beat the Packers on Sunday.
Yeah.
But if Aaron Rodgers is on point, I don't care if he's throwing to me and you. He is still a dangerous man.
Yeah.
I
don't think he has 2 duds in a row.
I don't see that's what's scary. That's the scary part about, and I know the thumb has been an issue since he got hurt. I believe it was over in London against the Giants. To what degree? Well, like Matt LaFleur said, we can't use the thumb as an excuse because look what he did in the cold weather in Lambeau against Dallas.
And Rodgers said the same thing. He said, I've been dealing with this for a while. There's no excuses. I just didn't play well.
Yeah. And then it came back and man, I still can't get over how many wide open receivers he missed running crossing routes. Just wide open, 5, 6, 7 yards distance between him and a receiver and defender. So that's going to be interesting. And the Eagles, they have some things to figure out. That offense is not as fluid as we saw the first eight games. The last 2 games have been really eye-opening in terms of how they played themselves out. And the fact that they lost the turnover battle now 2 games in a row is also concerning as well.
Mm. Yeah, look, I think for all of those reasons, the Eagles better really be on guard here, man. I don't think this is going to be easy. I don't care what Green Bay's record is. I don't care what the point spread is. And I think last I looked, it was in the 5 range. I'm
surprised it's that close, to be honest.
It's up to 7. I'm sorry. So Eagles are -7.
Okay.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't let any of that play into it. And the big thing we need to see, Derek, is I thought the defense did a really good job last week of correcting themselves after that first drive.
Yeah.
Now we'll see. We'll see how they do this week. This is a much, much more dangerous quarterback than what Matt Ryan is at this point in his career. And they have a good running attack too. On top of that. It's balanced.
You got to face Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
Now the good thing for the Eagles defense is just like Indianapolis, the Eagles like to run a lot of their power running attack between the tackles, but they also have several running plays where they pitch it to Aaron Jones on the edge, and you see a convoy of Green Bay helmets going down the field. And if that dude gets an open field, man, he's a dangerous man. Mm-hmm. Now, that dude, A.J. Dillon, he's another one. He's like 250. A.J. Dillon is a prelude of what you're going to face in Derrick Henry. Powerful young man, not as powerful as Derrick Henry, but, there's dudes, man, you got to bulldog him down to get him down to the ground. Mm-hmm. They cannot allow Green Bay to get that running game going because that sets up their play action. Just like when the Eagles get their running game going, how much it helps their play action as well.
Yeah.
The thing with this game is you can run on Green Bay. Will the Eagles stay committed to the run? Number one. You can also have a good measure of success throwing against Green Bay. So the question is, which way are they going to try to attack Green Bay's defense? Because Green Bay has had communication issues on the back end of their defense all season long.
Yeah.
So how are you going to attack this team? I want to say the word balance. I got a feeling they're going to lean heavily one way or the other. I don't know if it's going to be balanced, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't really know what the identity is lately. You know,
I don't either, dude.
You know, they gave Miles Sanders more opportunities last week, and he was okay. He was okay. He wasn't great. He was okay. I guess the question I have is, Derek, I look at the season average for them offensively, and they're averaging 26.3 points per game scored, the Eagles are. Last 2 weeks, they're only scoring 19 per game. You know, it's a pretty significant. It's a touchdown difference.
Against two mediocre teams.
Right.
Yep.
Is that just, hey, you have some ups and downs, and sometimes you're not always going to be clicking? Or teams have kind of figured this out a little bit, and the Eagles need to counter. You know, what is happening where you're seeing a little bit of a decline here? Now, when they had to have it last week, they got it late. But why are they off a little bit offensively compared to what we saw earlier?
We brought it up yesterday. Barrett doesn't agree with the notion that teams are catching on to what they're doing.
Yeah.
I have said for weeks, for the last at least 4 or 5 games, if you watch closely, and it started with the Dallas game, if you watch closely, the DNs are being more disciplined. They're not just attacking. They sprint and stop to see what Hurts is going to do with the ball and force his hand in terms of what he wants to do in the RPO. That's one element of it. We saw the Colts basically have a spy in the middle for most of the game against Jalen in terms of trying to take away the running game from him. That worked for a while, and then all of a sudden he just put this team on his back. I don't know what Green Bay is going to try to do because they've had 5 or 6 game samples in terms of how we want to try to umbrella this Eagles offense. We discussed it and we agreed in unison. I don't know if A.J. Brown is 100% with that ankle, to be honest, because against the Colts, he wasn't as dominant as we're accustomed to seeing. He had a couple of nice moments. I don't either. Yeah. But I will say this: the Colts and Washington both have some good young corners, some physical corners who are playing fearless ball. Green Bay has the highest paid cornerback in the game in Jair Alexander, and he loves to run man-to-man with the best receivers in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see. Rasul Douglas turned his career around when he got to Green Bay. And all of a sudden, this year's version of Rasul Douglas is a kid named Rudy Ford, who had 2 picks in the Dallas game. Yeah, former Eagle. Another former Eagle who had 2 picks in the Dallas game. And we're like, who is this dude? Where did he come from?
He was an excellent special teamer. The Eagles miss him on special teams.
Yeah. And so he's coming along. So how are they going to attack? How are they going to defend? And I think if it happens again, if Green Bay somehow, some way finds a way to hold his Eagles defense to offense to 20, 21 points, I think it's something we have to study real close in terms of why is this offense not as explosive as it was the first 8 games of the season?
And how much, like, I haven't seen this big drop off from Hurts necessarily.
No.
You know, where I'm saying, oh, he's missing wide open guys, or I think some of it's a little bit more subtle, Derek. In other words, like I thought there were a couple opportunities in the Colts game where let's just say either he kept it or and it was a situation where maybe he should have given it to Sanders or he should have dropped back and thrown it. Like I think maybe he misread a couple of things. Now, I don't know how much of that is just game planning and what they're doing and all that, but I think he was just a touch off with some of his reads on the RPOs. Because let's face it, he's got a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, he does.
It's what he's seeing at the line of scrimmage. It's the RPO, ride or decide. It's when he's passing it, whatever. There's a lot on his plate.
I think there's something to what Lane Johnson said also. We're starting to see things from defenses that are not showing up on film, which means defensive coordinators are coming up with different looks, different disguises to try to see if they can offset the Eagles' offense a little bit. And as you just said, we question, should Jalen have handed the ball off on this play? Should he have thrown it on this play? And I think it's because of some of these different looks that they haven't seen, and it's taken them a little bit longer to figure out. Right. Now, Washington basically said, we're going to control the clock, and it worked for them. Now, they're off, and I still can't get over this. Their offense put up 25 points on this Eagles defense. Yeah. Now, this was a Washington offense that was averaging less than 17 points a game. They found a way to put up 25 points, and they controlled the clock, and they won the turnover battle. They got 4 turnovers in that game.
Yeah.
Okay. Indianapolis comes back. They're going to try to control the clock. They win the turnover battle. But then as I text you guys and I said, they're not playing to win right now. When it was 13-3, they weren't playing to win. They played not to lose. And it came back and bit them. You know, if they had kept attacking, who knows what the outcome might have been.
Agreed.
But they were more concerned in that second half of controlling the clock and trying to run the clock out and having Matt Ryan not turn the football over, which he did not. But still, you stop attacking basically.
Yeah.
You know, and it cost you. Your defense fell apart the last drive in particular. So what does Green Bay take from that? Are they going to try to control the clock? Are they going to try – is Rodgers going to throw it 40 times a game because he thinks this young kid, Christian Watkins, can beat their corners, or Randall Cobb can get free over the middle, or, you know, Alan Lazard is a great matchup against James Bradbury because he's 6'5". Yeah, I don't, you know, I can't wait to see this one. Unfortunately, it's an 8:30, 8:15 game. You know, man, I hate those night games, dude. Love them when I'm watching them. You know how it is. Hate covering them.
I know.
We don't get done until like 2 a.m.
I know. Yes. Yes, yeah. I hear you, man. I hear you. I think there's the obvious elephant in the room is Goddard, right? And what do you do just to sort of offset that a little bit? Clearly, Jack, and they're just not Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra. You can't expect them to be Dallas Goddard, but what can you do to offset that a little bit and still get the production where you're not, as limited as you were in that game against the Colts? I don't know what the answer to that question is, honestly. And I thought Zach Pascal would be a little bit more involved. He didn't do anything in the last game. I thought there would be other guys. Yeah. And maybe another week gets A.J. Brown that much healthier. I don't know. I feel like too, and he's had okay games. Don't get me wrong. Not like terrible games, but I'm waiting for like the big breakout Devonta Smith sort of game. And that hasn't happened in a while.
No, we haven't had it. Now, obviously, that's directly because of A.J. being there. And obviously, A.J., it's funny. We keep saying A.J. is Jalen's guy. But, Jalen played with Devonta down at Alabama.
Right.
But him and A.J. go way back even before that, I guess. I guess that is his guy. And it's clear who his favorite receiver is, when push comes to shove. And, of course, Devonta's numbers have suffered because of it a little bit. Who knows? Maybe they go a different route. Maybe they try something different this time. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. As far as like hammering the run game, I just don't know that they're interested in doing that. Should they be? Probably. But, I don't know that we're going to see that, at least coming out of the gate.
I think if they're smart, they test Green Bay's run defense right out the gate. Out of the gate. Run right at Green Bay's defense and establish the run.
I would prefer they do that.
Yeah, I've seen too many times Green Bay's run defense just backing up down the field, giving up 5, 6, 8 yards of crack, and it's cost them trying to play from behind. I think that's the best way for the Eagles to attack. Don't start throwing the ball right away against Green Bay because number one, Green Bay has a decent pass rush. Yeah. Number two, they have some pretty good corners, even without Eric Stokes, a former number 1 pick who's out for the year. Green Bay's deep at the cornerback position. Their biggest issue has been lack of communications, but they have a number of guys back there that love to play man-to-man, and you just don't want some fluke pass, off somebody's hands into the arms of the opposing player. And another key matchup, as I brought up, was watching Mulata going against Preston Smith, their outside linebacker. Preston Smith is a very good edge rusher, and he's going to be coming. And let's face it, last 3 games, Mulata has not played his best football.
No. Well, I don't know if he's had a good year.
I thought he played well early, but ever since he's been dealing with this so-called shoulder thing, last 3 games have been suspect for him, man.
Big time. Yep. Big time. So he's a guy to keep your eye on. Most of the others are still doing what we expected them to do along the offensive line. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And look, I think any good coaching staff and player has to figure out the adjustment on top of the adjustment. And teams have adjusted to what the Eagles were doing earlier in the season. And we got to see it. As much as we praised and we heaped a lot of praise, I guess what I'm trying to say, on Shane Steichen for the way I thought he kept teams off balance earlier in the season. this is where we're going to find a little bit out about him as the play caller, and the offensive mind. Because let's face it, last year, out of necessity, you just ran the ball and, occasionally mixed in some other stuff, and it worked. This year, you were kind of dictating your own terms early in the season, but teams have sort of figured that out a little bit. Now we're going to see what that chess move is from Sirianni too. This is going to come from both of these guys.
I think the next 3 to 4 games in particular will determine how far this team could potentially go in the second season.
Yep.
Because you look at the different array of people they're going to face, from Tennessee's defense and offense to the Giants' defense and offense. The Bears with Justin Fields now running all over the place like Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Dallas again on Christmas Eve. So this is going to be interesting and determine a lot about what we think we know of this team, or finding out some things we didn't know about this team.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think who. I don't know, man. I think A.J. Brown being right is going to help. The good news is it's not all year with Goddard. You're going to get him back at some point, just like you're going to get Jordan Davis back at some point. But you got to be able to handle this, because let's face it, Derek, they have been more fortunate than most in the injury department.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
A lot more. So this is not like you can't go through the same thing that you went through with Jordan Davis against Washington, where everybody's saying, oh, my God, Jordan Davis. No, figure out a way to overcome it and adapt. And same thing with Goddard. Get some production out of that position. I don't know. I mean, Calcaterra playing for a little extended minutes for the first time this year, maybe that helps him this week. Maybe Tyree Jackson being activated for the first time last week helps him this week. These are very young, inexperienced players. All of them are. Stoll is too. This is a young bunch.
You have to have more than just one catch for 7 yards from the tight end position.
Yeah.
You have to. And you have 3 different options. Now, granted, they're not Dallas Goedert, but they're good enough to help you in the passing game. Or do you have them in more so for the running game? Well, we know Calcaterra is not a great blocker. We don't know what Tyrese Jackson is. We don't know what he can do well. We haven't seen much of him. We know Stoll is a better blocker than he is catcher, but you have to find a way to get a mixture of the two at the right moment, at the right time, down in distance, and have them more incorporated in your passing game to make that offense that much more fluid.
Right.
Because it wasn't a fluid offense for most of that game against Indianapolis.
Oh, anything but.
Yeah.
What for sure. I mean, even at the end, when you were able to put together those 2 drives, it was done mostly. It wasn't ad-libbing, but it was right, Jalen just kind of getting it done however he had to get
Absolutely.
it done. You can't rely on that 4 quarters. That can't be.
Oh, no, you can't. No.
They know that. And then look, that goes for any team. At the end of the game, you got to do what you got to do to survive, and they did what they had to do. That's for sure. All right, so we will we'll continue with the Eagles discussion. We'll also dive into some of the games tomorrow. They're actually all 3 are kind of interesting. Bills and the Lions, Giants, Cowboys certainly, and Patriots, Vikings certainly. But so we'll dive into those, and then the other games in Week 12. And who's on the hot seat, Gunner? Who is on the hot seat in the NFL? All right, we'll do all of that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. He's Derek. I'm Rob. Barrett off today. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Going to tell you right now about Pro Action Restoration. Yes, Pro Action Restoration is the place that you call or reach out to if your home, your business, a property that you may own goes through the inconvenience, and let's face it, very difficult situation if you have fire, water, smoke, or mold damage. They're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. I've gone through it. I called Pro Action on a Saturday, and they got right over to my parents' house, and they cleaned up the mess very, very quickly. The crew was professional, clean, price was reasonable. It was an unbelievable experience. They are licensed, bonded, and fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So again, it could be any of the above: water, fire, smoke, mold damage, any of the above. They can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Don't wait until after Thanksgiving for leftovers.